Welcome to Crystal Sunshine Psychic Services. I'm Crystal Sunshine. Thank you so much for the purchase of your pendulum. With the purchase of your pendulum online, you receive our workshop, our video workshop of how to. So I'm very honored to be sharing space with you today, and I'm very honored to be teaching you how to use your pendulum. All right, so today's class goals, we are here to have fun. We are going to learn through amusement, and we're going to learn a brief history of the pendulum, which I found super fascinating to learn as well as to teach. I'm going to teach you how to handle your pendulum. I'm also going to teach you how to communicate with your pendulum and also how to receive answers from your pendulum. All right, let's get started. First, I want to take note that I feel like I'm very tan today. It's summer in California, and I didn't realize that I must have been getting a lot of sun. I'm normally not. Okay, so let's talk about the origin of the pendulum. So the word pendulum actually derives from the Latin word pendulus, meaning hanging down. Pendulum means a body suspended from a fixed point as to move to and fro by the action of gravity and acquired momentum. What do you think the acquired momentum is? I think we can easily say it's our energy that's moving it, because everything is energy, right? It's the vibration from our super subconscious and higher self, but it's also the vibration of our guides, our angels, and spirit. A pendulum is more than just a weight at the end of a chain. It's a powerful tool that has been used in divination for thousands of years. It's deceptively simple, and with just a few practices, anyone can use it. I use mine daily, and I think that you're going to learn how to use it daily as well. All right, so let's start off with a little history of your beloved pendulum, and if it's not beloved, it certainly soon will be. So it's definitely not a new invention. It actually has been used for thousands of years. One of the first documented cases predicted in finding in ruins and transcripts is in ancient China. It was used to actually deter away and chase away evil spirits. Interesting. In ancient Egypt, they used pendulums determine the best places to grow their crops, and that's actually depicted in hieroglyphics, which I'm very connected to ancient Egypt, so that makes a lot of sense. In Roman times, people were condemned to death for using the pendulum because they were uncomfortable with it unveiling the right answers, right? Therefore giving away their power, right? One of the most famous pendulum users is the king of dowsers, and his name is Abbé Mermet, and he was from the early 20th century, who still has his own shape of pendulum, and that's actually the shape that you're going to be receiving. It's called the Mermet pendulum, and you'll see the way it's shaped, and the way that the rose quartz is shaped in yours that's what depicts a Mermet pendulum. So I have a great affection for them, although this is not one. But I do love the power of the chakra crystal. So this is one of my favorite ones. So Abbé Mermet successfully found water in Colombia, found petroleum in Africa. He would find missing people and animals, and the Vatican actually used his talents to conduct archaeological explorations in Rome. So, and that was the early 20th century. A funny artifact in researching for this workshop, one of the strangest pendulum artifacts I came across was in the 1920s. It was marketed as a sex detector. And I know where your mind went on that one. But actually, it was said that the pendulum should be suspended over the palm of a pregnant woman. If the pendulum moves in a circular direction, the unborn child will be a girl. And if it moves in a straight line, it'll be a boy. So I haven't tested this out myself. However, I think it would be a fantastic baby shower game. And please follow up on that one. All right, now to get started, you're going to need a few things. You're going to need a bowl that's filled with some gemstones if you like, or something, even coins or marbles in a little bowl, just something to grab at. A deck of cards. It could be any sort of playing cards. These are the Doreen, Virtue, Magical Mermaids, and Dolphins. That's for my dog Luna, who is really a mermaid. A pendulum. Hopefully you have the pendulum that you purchase here. 2 coins. It doesn't matter what denomination. A pen. I like to use pink, of course. And just something, a little scratch pad. All right, so that's what we're going to need for today. So I'll go ahead and allow you some time to get those going and get yourself situated. Okay, so now once you have all of your stuff situated, I want you to go ahead and please pick up one of the gemstones or one of the deck of cards. All right. Okay. Now what hand did you use? Right? Okay. So the hand that you used is going to be your receiving hand. And this will always be your receiving hand. Okay, so now you know which hand is your receiving hand and which hand is your pendulum hand. So now it comes into play with your trusty marker. So the hand that you use to grab the stones or the deck of cards, that's going to be your receiving hand. So you're going to go ahead and put a big R for receiving hand. And this doesn't have to happen every time, just the first time you get a new pendulum. Okay, so that makes the opposite hand, the hand that was not the dominant one, the one that did not grab any gemstones or cards, that's going to be your pendulum hand. So you're going to go ahead and write a big P for pendulum, okay? So congratulations, you just completed goal number 1. All right, so figuring out what hand you will use will always be the one that holds your pendulum, okay? So this will never change, and if you do switch hands, the information may come out incorrect because it all works off of energy polarity, and so our hands are working off of different energy fields, so pretty interesting. Or you can go ahead and cheat and actually do, is this my receiving hand? Is this my pendulum hand? I did that in the beginning. So whatever you're comfortable with, really. So, and it doesn't necessarily have to mean your writing hand or your less dominant hand. It's really, it doesn't, because my pendulum hand is actually the hand that is my most dominant hand. So yeah. Okay, so now goal number 2, getting to know your pendulum. I actually like to name mine, and this one is named Penny. Penny, my pendulum, so I always have to say, oh my goodness, let me consult with Penny. So, and every pendulum is going to have its own language. And what you'll find that every time you get a new pendulum, just go ahead and watch this workshop again and learn the language of your pendulum, because each one carries a different energy field. So it's really about just learning that communication, and it just has to happen every time. If you don't get a new one for 10 years, you don't ever have to do this again. All right, and after that, your pendulum is always going to interact with you the same exact way. It's always going to have the same language with you. One day it's just not going to switch, so it's very trusty. All right, so now with your pen, okay, on your receiving hand, the one that has the big R, okay, write on your index finger a negative sign. Right? Negative. Okay, then on your middle finger, go ahead and draw a positive sign. Positive. On your ring finger, draw a negative sign. Negative. Then on your little pinky finger, draw a positive sign. Positive. Okay. Then on your thumb, draw a small circle, and this is actually going to denote neutral. And it seems as if I can't write even with my good hands. Okay. Okay, so now this is where it gets really fun. I'll come up a little bit closer. Okay, so go ahead, and the finger that has a negative sign on it, your pointing finger, okay, go ahead and put your pendulum, get it in view, there you go, right over your negative, and see how it communicates with you. Okay, you see that? Isn't that exciting? So that is what a no answer would be, or a negative answer. And not negative as in negative energy, it's a no. Okay, so it was, notice it stopped, it was done. Okay, now pardon the finger, no intention with it, but on your middle finger, the one that has the positive sign, go ahead and try to lift it away from your other fingers. This is because it's pulling up the energy from this charge, that's why. Okay, so now go ahead and put your pendulum over the positive charge finger and see how a yes answer, so it's moving pretty good, a yes answer or a positive answer is. That's really neat, right? Okay, now let's go to your ring finger, which is a negative charged finger, right? Okay, let's verify what negative means. It's pretty good. All right, let's go to your positive finger, your little pinky finger, okay, and see what, here, I'll put it around this way so you can see what a positive, you see how that works? Okay, that's going to be a yes answer. So your answers may not be the same as mine. So whatever your pendulum is doing right now over the positive, that's going to mean your yes answer. And whatever your pendulum did over the negative charge fingers, that's going to be your no answer. Okay, so, and everyone actually is different. So I learned that by teaching a workshop where everyone was different. That was a good learning period for me. Okay, so now with your thumb, the one that is, this is going to be a neutral charge. So a neutral charge is going to mean an I don't know answer, or yeah, basically I don't know, or I can't answer. Sometimes if you ask your guides and angels or spirit an answer, we're not really supposed to know everything. So sometimes they will refuse to answer, and so with that they'll get a you'll get a neutral charge. And it could be something about like, what's the name of my soulmate? We're really not supposed to know these things. Or where am I going to meet my soulmate? They're not going to tell you Starbucks, because every time you go to Starbucks, you're going to look for your soulmate. Or if your soulmate is Adam, you're going to say no to every Joe, Dick, or Harry before Adam. So we're not supposed to know these things. So sometimes Spirit just comes back and gives you a, I don't really want you to know this. And I take that as, shut the hell up. All right. But a lot of times they just don't know. Okay. That's not true. They know everything. Okay. So now I'm going to come a little bit closer. That is a neutral charge. Now mine's going in a huge circle. Never ceases to amaze me, just like how amazing this is. Okay, well hopefully yours is communicating with you. Maybe it helps to name it and get a little bit personal. That way, you know, I mean, I just think that you connect with it better. Just like I like to know all my spirit guides or angels that I'm working with, I like to make it just a little bit personal. So same with all of my tools that I use. All right, now let's talk about the ritual of asking a pendulum questions, or your penny, okay? So I always, it's a ritual. I do the same thing every time. So, and honestly, the use of your pendulum is really limitless. For this workshop, we'll mostly use yes or no or I don't know. I also forgot to tell you that neutral can be maybe. So I guess that's a viable answer. So, and I have gotten a lot of maybes. So the ritual that I like to start out with every time I pick up my pendulum, and this is literally every time I pick up my pendulum, I like to know who is swinging my pendulum. Okay. I think that's a very honest question to want to know, right? And in my experience and research, it can be your higher self. It can be your spirit guides. It can be ascended masters. It could be angels. It could be archangels. And it can also be spirit. So I just ask. A lot of the times I use my Akashic Record Keeper. Our Akashic Record Keeper always knows our next step information. So that's a really good guide to ask to pull forward. And if you're unfamiliar with your Akashic Record Keeper, we all have them. It's a contract we signed when we incarnated in this world, and we've had the same one the entire time. I do have a service of where I pull forward your Akashic Record Keeper, and I do a guided meditation, as well as I describe the name, the valence, and all of that good stuff. So I can help you discover your Akashic Record Keeper. But even if you don't know your Akashic Record Keeper, we have one, so you can communicate nonetheless, and all the same. Okay. So, and also you don't have to vocalize your requests out loud. You can do it inward. It's just the same, whatever you're comfortable with, quite honestly. So, okay, we can all do it together if you like. Okay, so these are, I'm going to bring forward, these are my ritual, my routine every time I pick up my pendulum, and I like to start communicating. Okay, so I ask, are we communicating? That's a yes. Can you see that? Sorry, that's a yes. Okay. And then I like to ask, do you know the answer of the question I'm about to ask? Yes. Okay, that's what you want. Okay. Now this is very important, because if you get a weak answer or a no, then you just simply ask to bring forward someone who does know the answer to the question I'm about to ask. I'll do that a lot. Like if I get a very weak answer, I'm going to do it in a no manner, and I'm going to actually manually do it just to show you for purposes. If I get like something like something like that, I don't really go for that. And you know, if that's a yes, it's just really like slight, I'll ask to please pull forward someone that does know the answer, and to please swing my pendulum strong. So, you know, everyone has their own language, and it's about discovering what works for you, which is really beautiful, right? Okay. So, you can also ask, and I like to do this one a lot, are my highest and best guides and angels answering? I like to do this because I don't really believe that unless you're in a space to want to welcome in lower energies, then you will do that. But I just like to ask that, you know, are my highest and best guides. Then I know for sure that I'm getting the best leaded information. And the reason why I do this is, even though we have spirit guides all around us, you know, don't be fooled into thinking they all are limitless with their answers, and they all have seniority over us, and they all have, you know, this super wise, like, sage advice to give us. You know, they're just, they are in their different ages as well, and they carry different bits of knowledge, right? So we are the being with bodies, and they're not. And so we're very respected by the beings without bodies, which is our spirit guides, our ascended masters, angels. They respect us very much because we chose to take an earthbound body in this lifetime, which is very, very hard. And so they are basically we're the lead actor, and there are supporting actors and actresses, right? They're our supporting team. So that's really what they're here for. So a good example would be that I have this one spirit guide named Chrissy, right? And she's about 12 years old, and she, you know, she's silly, and she's super silly. And basically she said that she's here to delight me and also to be delighted, which is amazing, right? Okay, but however, I wouldn't trust her in asking if I should quit this job, if I should move, what my life path is. You see what I'm saying? So there's certain guides that guide us. That's why we have a large team supporting us. Everyone has like the best answer for what you're asking. So that's why I like to ask, are my highest and best guides and angels answering? So that's the reason for me. Okay, now let's learn about polarity. Let's do a polarity test. So go ahead and put your 2 coins that you had down in front of you and put them about 4 inches apart, if you would. Okay, now let's watch how polarity works. How does your pendulum interact with the 2 bits of information that are alike? Okay, right? You see how it interacts. Now this means that the pendulum likes these 2 entities together. These are very similar. Now how you can use this is you can put your name down, and you could go ahead and put a potential partner's name down, and you actually can see, hey, is this a good match or is this not a good match, right? Okay, let's try that. Okay, now what I did is I went ahead and replaced one of the coins with some rose quartz, and it could be anything. Now let's watch, how does the pendulum interact with the 2 that are not similar? Okay, do you see how it's a completely different direction? Okay, right? So that would be if maybe you put your name down with a potential partner and it does this. It would say to me that it is not a good match. Fascinating, right? Another thing that you can do for your polarity test is you can figure out vacation spots. You can figure out places to move to. You can figure out pets' names. All you would have to do is put your name next to a little piece of paper, similar to something like this. Put your name on one side and then the location on the next side, or the person on the next side, and just see how your pendulum relates to that. I use that all the time. So you could do it with coworkers, you could do it pretty much with anything. So I want to take a moment and thank you so much for purchasing your pendulum through Crystal Sunshine Psychic Services. I certainly look forward to working with you in the future, and please check out my other classes as well as meditations and services. I would love to read for you sometime. We have a lot of fun over here. And thank you all for being such bright suns. You lighten up my day, and I learned so much from you all. All right, in love and light.